intro.
All right, we are on air. Faisal.
Yalla yalla, darka darka. Hello everyone.
Darka Muhammad Jihad. Darka. Yeah.
Hello everyone. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are, any part of the world, whether you are in Mozambique or Kurdistan, we welcome you to this podcast. My name is Faisal Said Al-Mutar. I would like to introduce everyone here. I speak English, Arab no good, Pakistan no good, chicken tikka masala. Okay, so with us we have Yasmin Muhammad, the author of Confessions of an Ex-Muslim, and what else? What else I know about Yasmin?
My book is going to be called From Al-Qaeda to Atheism.
Oh yeah. Is there any release date for that or?
Inshallah, sir. I can't give you. I can't give you definite information yet, but we are going to be. I'm going to be publishing it through Armin's Atheist Republic publishing company.
Oh.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, just a heads up to our audience
to convince Faisal to do his book with us as well.
Don't tell me what to do. So in that way, if guys you're interested in getting her book, maybe the best way for you is to follow her, and when she releases the book, or she will probably obviously post a link about it, and then you have to pay in shekel, right? Because all of them are Jewish, so you have to pay in Israeli currency.
And we in the Middle East will pilot it.
Yes, mention the project you're doing with
pay in
Muslims.
You take the foreskins of your babies, and it'll be, I think, 4 foreskins per book.
That's the only thing you have ever said good, Armin. The Yasmin is doing another project about helping ex-Muslims from the Arab world, I think, or the Muslim world in general, coping up with leaving Islam and the traumatization that happens after that. Maybe you can tell us about that, Yasmin.
That's exactly it. Yeah, you're right. And so I'm connecting these ex-Muslims from around the Muslim world with a ex-Muslim in the UK, a Pakistani activist who is also a mental health practitioner. I'm trying to remember what his specific title is. I can't remember.
Biryani, maybe.
Maybe, probably, yeah.
It's great food.
I love it. Yeah.
A little bit of tamarind and yeah.
And,
how can people follow this, by the way? Like, is there a link?
Yeah, so it's my pinned tweet. So if you can, or it's also on my website, confessionsofanaxmuslim.com, and we would really appreciate any support that that you're willing to give.
Cool. And with us we also have Al Rizvi, the author of I don't know, The Third Wave. By
I forgot the name of my book.
Yeah,
I think it's called.
I can relate.
The wonders of. It's called The Wonders of Third Wave Jihadism. That's what it is.
Ali recently had an event in Columbus, Ohio. I think, was it Columbus?
It was in Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, that's the same.
We honored Frank Zindler, who was a pioneer of the American atheist movement. He was part of the movement when the American atheist wasn't an accepted term; it wasn't an allowed term, so they had to call it the Society of Separations, which is separation of church and state, because nobody liked the word atheist. And he worked with Madeleine Murray O'Hair, one of the atheist pioneers, and he's just a very.
This is a great segue to our guest. But before I introduce our guest, because our guest is probably one of also the founders, or at least part of the beginning of the movement, of the atheist movement in the Arab world. That's it. I actually like this book a lot, and Hitchens put it in his, I think, arguably book. Arguably about
translation.
Yeah.
He come
to all that.
We're gonna come to all that, but I have to introduce Armin because he will feel offended, and his country invaded mine about 20 years ago, and I have to mention that it's important for me.
Guys that invaded Iran. That's what a history book says. So I don't know.
Yeah, forget about
it was actually Iraq that invaded Iran.
Come on, don't blame it on me. Come on. Yeah.
I actually don't trust our school books, so I don't know.
I don't trust our school
books. Was it Iraq that invaded Iran?
Well, yes,
I know. Iraq, Saddam, he cut the water.
Wanted to overthrow
Tigris, but the push to Karbala was totally Iran.
I mean,
that's fair.
Khomeini wanted to overthrow Saddam, and Saddam did a preemptive strike to actually prevent Khomeini from overthrowing him. But Sunnis and Shias differ on this. But
it was Muharram. It was the Ashura a few days ago. So my back is still a little sore right now.
I can relate it. But by the way, I mean,
keep hitting themselves, Yasmin. What kind of idiots are those?
I don't know. They're weird whips and chains.
But
these guys are into BDSM.
I want to say something.
You guys do it to other people.
Please, sisters and brothers, please.
Touche. That's actually good.
Let's get through the intros and then we'll start the discussion.
Before Qima, for those who are interested, qima is one of the most tasty things you would ever have in your life, and that happens. No,
it's made out of the backs of Shias and Muharram.
The chickpeas, the one
yes, they blend it all up. I know what you're talking about.
The one that they throw the chickpeas and then they put like a stew and they put it with the rice and they put a lamb. Oh my God, it's like the best thing. Like it's a fucking amazing.
Faisal is orgasmic.
Yeah, I am orgasmic. It's like
when you talk about chickpeas, it reminds me of my joke that I did, the airport joke.
Okay, we don't need to hear it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so Armin is the
everybody's drunk today.
The introduction took 10 minutes.
Okay, let me do it fast. Armin the Atheist Republic, and he wrote Why There's No God. Done. Go to the guest.
Okay, guest. So our guest. So as Ali was saying that he went to an event that they were introducing American kind of founders or first movers of the atheist movement in America. We liked in our podcast to talk about and introduce ex-Muslims who are doing work introducing these first movements in that bold, because many people look at this like there's obviously like when they look at the Middle East, they always think of Muslims, conservative, religious people, etc., but they don't know that there is a growing ex-Muslim movement, probably young, but at the same time, it's worth of credit, worth of recognition. And today we have a guest who is still a member of ISIS, right? Is that correct? No, I'm kidding. Omar is from Egypt, as you can recognize.
And you can hear the adhan behind me right now.
As you can from his accent, he is kushari twice a day, and
I knew he would say kushari.
And
he always introduces anyone to the food they came from. That's about it.
Yeah, and he likes it vegan.
Stop talking for 2 minutes and we'll get through this intro, okay?
Yeah, so Omar likes his kushari vegan and gluten-free, so he's a bit more westernized than most people think. So he's the second time we bring him to his podcast. I mean, that means we love the Egyptians. We love the Egyptians. We don't want to nuke them. I think some of them are good people.
He's back because his audio quality was shit the first time. He didn't have a proper headset. That's why he's back.
Yeah, I mean, Egyptian problem. So Omar.
Chinese.
Don't interrupt the Iraqis, Omar. We're gonna rule you one day. So don't try to interrupt us.
I just want to say, when we talk about ex-Muslims pioneering stuff, I think we should start referring to it as the Enlightenment, just so that we can, just as a term, so we can draw the parallel between something that people in the West recognize. When we talk about the ex-Muslim movement in the Middle East and Arab countries in the Muslim world, we should talk about how these young people like Omar, are ushering in enlightenment in the Muslim world.
But you guys need to defend the Enlightenment in the first place too.
Ali, why is your connection so shitty? The guy from Egypt has a better connection than you. You're so pixelated all the time.
I think
really,
it's
but can you hear the audio? Is the audio okay?
Audio's fine. Well, you get cut sometimes.
Yeah, the pixelation, that's just how I look. Like that's how I really, if you come over here, that's like right in person too. So Omar, welcome back. So
welcome to our podcast,
guys.
Wow.
Omar Assam here, ex-Muslim from Cairo, and you can listen to the adhan behind me. And
by the way, as a quick, Zencaster is not recording.
Oh shit!
Oh my god!
Holy fuck! Actually, this is good. Can you do a 2-minute intro this time?
No. Don't worry. We're gonna get Google Hangouts, and we're gonna get the sound from here. I'll do it, and then after that,
just do a fucking 1-minute intro. 1 minute intro. All right.
Okay, I'm gonna do like a very quick intro. Like
let's just see if
everybody. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
like
we'll just rip the sound from here, man. We'll rip the sound from Google Hangouts. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I think I agree with Ali. Like, yeah, we can kind of take this step because I think we're all already live.
Right,
and
go ahead.
Yeah. So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So,
actually, do an intro because Max is going to kill us. Actually, Max will kill us. Do an intro.
No, I don't care. Like, so many people try to kill me anyway. So, anyway.
No, Max is special.
Same here.
Go ahead. So, Omar, tell us more about yourself. What you do? Are you circumcised? All of these questions.
Do you manscape? Yes. We always ask our Egyptian people if they're manscaped. If they manscaped.
First of all,
especially people named Omar. We asked another Omar the same thing.
To be an individual has nothing to do with Egypt, but I will introduce myself as an ex-Muslim from Egypt who really cares about Western values and the Enlightenment and wish Western values to enter his country. And I can say I am on the left on most social issues, on the right on most economic. I'm an individual. Just ask me my position on everything. And I am here to talk about basic important stuff and the way the communication with the West have been going for the last few months. Conversation is failing in some parts, but you can ask me any questions, or I can like start with all the differences, and before any differences and before any disagreements, you know I love you guys, right?
Yeah. So Omar, I'm gonna ask the first question because it's something that I think that we talked about before, you and all of us, and it was fascinating. So I want everybody else to hear about it too. The Muslim Brotherhood, what's up with it? Is it a terrorist organization? Is it not? Should it be labeled because those are two different questions. First of all, is it a terrorist organization? Number two is, should the West label it as a terrorist organization? Does it harm their diplomatic efforts? What's going on with the Muslim Brotherhood? What's the history? Lead us through it.
Okay, first of all, it's way more complicated when it comes to the history. So I'm gonna talk as the version of the Muslim Brotherhood. I'm talking the last 10 years or 15 years. If I start from Hassan al-Banna, it will take too long, okay? Now, the Muslim Brotherhood in the Middle East is a terrorist organization, not just labeled. They actually do terrorist attack and kill innocent people. It actually isn't, and I will defend the Muslim Brotherhood like anyone in the UK to label them the terrorist organization. That's not because I love them, I fucking hate them, but all the hood in the West continues and depends on none of them or not any Muslim doing a terrorist attack. They want to Islamize the West by getting into politics and using the weak left to get everything, jab to polygamy to female genital mutilation, everything in the system without actually killing anyone. So when the last time Armin asked me a direct question, is CARE a terrorist organization? The answer is no. In fact, it's the complete opposite. CARE continues to stop any crazy Muslim. Yes, you did.
Okay, so CARE, just for the people who don't know, CARE is the Council on Arab Islamic Relations. No, sorry, Arab Islamic Relations. What is it again? On American Islamic Relations in the United States.
What do you think about CARE? I don't think they're a terrorist organization.
No, you asked Armin. Trust me,
anyway,
every time I do this and I tell you to go back to the video, I'm right. So please, just let it go.
Hey, listen,
so you're saying the Muslim Brotherhood are a terrorist organization? Absolutely, for sure. But their affiliates in America are very careful never to be involved in any terrorism because they want to work against the secular governments by using the governments against themselves. And they're very careful to come off as looking as if they are friends of Americans. Is that correct?
Of course.
Lolo is pointing out to mention what CARE is, Council on American of Islamic Relations, because many of our audience might not know.
Yeah, we said that
again.
Already.
Yeah, I just mentioned that.
This will be so complicated, so I will gonna shorten it as much as I can. The Muslim Brotherhood changed a little in its view to the West from the infidels to a fertile ground for Islam into Europe, America, Canada, and Australia. That changed. They changed their behavior from, we do not do terrorist attacks in the West. Every single thing you hear from Europe is actually coming from ISIS, Jihadists, and things from other terrorist organizations, not from the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood in the UK are extremely dangerous to take Britain apart, but they do not do terrorist attacks, and they actually work. If any lone wolf, if any guy, if any Muslim jihadist in their own midst start doing crazy ideas like killing infidels, they are the ones who will report him. So in a weird way, if you're a single issue voter or you care about one thing in America and you just want to stop themselves up, CARE is actually your ally. But if you're gonna stand for American values and Western civilization, CARE is coming to destroy it.
Mm-hmm. And very insidiously so. The thing is, like, it's not very obvious. It's not on the surface with the way that they do it.
No, they say it. They want to integrate everything, and they will not assimilate, and they all say it, and they will be taken seriously, and the Muslim Brotherhood will be a political organization, because in the West, such a thing as human rights and free speech they can use. Here they can't. Here they get thrown in jail. There's a reason I need to explain this, because it's extremely complicated and everyone gets it wrong. Now, for some reason, people think over the last 3 years, there's a huge thing that happened called Rab'a massacre, which was terrible. Over 1,300 people, Muslim Brotherhood supporters, died. After that, there was a huge against Egypt as human rights abuses. They stopped the aid. They stopped the 2 F-16s that were coming, which we were gonna use to attack ISIS in Sinai and Libya. I know 2 F-16 is nothing, but to us it's a big deal. We still have now. After that push, state security over here didn't really have a way to get rid of the rest of the terrorists, of the Islamists, because the West will cut off the need, because the military needs it. It's $1.3 billion for the military each year. So they had this, let's say, both-way solution of, okay, liberals, you care about human rights, you think these guys deserve human rights, take them. We'll accelerate the asylum process in a second. Germany, take those. UK, take those. And all the Islamists, the worst Egypt has to offer, is now in Europe, not in here. That's why, like, it's safer for me as a one against the Muslim Brotherhood, who I had my name on a death kill list, to stay in Egypt, not to go to London. I will get killed in London, but not in Cairo. That's point number one. Point number two. That's tragic.
Hold on.
Even though you're
let's stick with number one for 1 second here.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Eileen.
Go on.
No, I was going to say, so I was just going to clarify what Omar had said. Did you have another question that you wanted to ask him?
No, go ahead. I was going to basically say that I was going to follow up on the death kill list. But I'll talk about that later. But go ahead.
Okay. So I was going to clarify that what you were saying was that there were all of these Muslim Brotherhood people that were deemed terrorists in the Muslim world. So in Egypt, I guess, and in other places. And there were all these bleeding heart liberals in Australia and Canada and the United States saying, you know, you have to treat these people with respect, or whatever the case may be. And so then the Arabs said, here, you want Muslim Brotherhood people? You want to give them love? Take them. In fact, we will make sure that their asylum process goes as smoothly as possible. Itfah. You want these guys? Here, take them all. And so that's why they're all over. And that's why now the head of the Muslim Brotherhood and Hizb ut-Tahrir as well, is in the UK and Australia and Canada, you're saying, are all, and Germany. Wonderful.
So
you think Hizb ut-Tahrir right now? Australia's next.
But the way you phrase it is that they don't deserve human rights. So are you suggesting that any
member doesn't deserve, like, I want to throw them in jail? That is a big disagreement between you and me and the Yasmin.
No, that's not a disagreement on that. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. It was the disagreement when you said jihadists have human rights too, and I disagreed, and I still disagree.
Well, that I do disagree with. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think people think that when you give someone human rights, that means that you can't throw them in jail. When somebody has human rights and they commit a crime, they go to jail. Human rights doesn't deny that.
No, but you are actually giving human rights to people organizing to kill Coptic Christians in Egypt and kill infidels.
Well, we give human rights to all humans.
All humans.
So, but whatever these humans do, they need to pay for whatever it is that they do.
Please. I know. This is a huge difference in mindset. I was listening to the last, and I actually made an extremely sarcastic comment. I didn't mean it when I said I want all ISIS and Al Qaeda to get killed. I am sorry, guys. I am such a terrible person, and you guys told me, no, Omar, you're not a terrible person. Of course, I'm not a terrible person.
Okay, so let me kind of
ISIS and Al Qaeda and okay, sorry.
No, I'm sorry about that. But let me just kind of talk. I think that I'm going to also speak for Armin and Yaz. If I don't, then that's me. And so there is human rights, and then there's due process, right? So you have human rights, which is the right of everybody now to have, just equal rights and to be the whole, have the benefit of the doubt. Right, innocent before until proven guilty. Now, when you're talking about ISIS people, when you're talking about people who are planning to kill, those people are already subject. They're already guilty. I mean, what we're doing is we're going to be charging them, right? That's included in human rights, as Armin said. So what you're saying doesn't actually conflict with human rights. If you're talking about how jihadis, like if you want them all to be, killed or to be arrested or to be charged or to be prosecuted in some way, that is part of. Depends if there's some places that have the death penalty, others don't. But the thing is. All of that, and especially in a state of war, you can kill people.
We are at war. They are killing us. What do you mean? Especially
that's exactly what it is.
That's part of human rights, Omar. If I shoot somebody that is shooting at me, I'm not violating their human rights. I'm
again, Armin.
Uh-huh.
This agreement has nothing to do with an extremist Muslim having the right to free speech and saying I want to kill infidels in the middle of Times Square and nobody even punching him in the face. I will defend him. This has nothing to do with
then we're on the same
Muslims' ideas. Of course, we're on the same page. I am talking about members of a terrorist organization.
Okay, I have a question, Omar.
They're already criminals. Even under human rights laws, they're already
criminals. They're already living free in the UK.
Yes.
Sorry.
So, Ahmad, what do you want to have happened to those Muslim Brotherhood people? Like, obviously, we didn't want them to come to Canada and America and Australia and Germany, but what do you think would have been the right solution?
Collected and thrown to jail because they did kill people and they are advocating for the murder of 10 million Egyptian Coptics and the Sharia law in my country. When
we agree with
people
you
who made yes, I know, but this is I know we agree on this, but there is a different mindset, and this is hilarious, Yasmin, because I just knew that our grandfathers had this exact same disagreement. So guys, Yasmin's grandfather's brother is Muhammad Naguib, Egypt's first president, and my grandfather is Nasser's bodyguard. So these two guys really hated each other, and they had the same disagreement. Muhammad, grandfather of Yasmin, was letting the Muslim Brotherhood into the political situation, and it's democracy. They have the right to speak. And Nasser was, no, I'm throwing them all in jail. There is no such thing. The Muslim Brotherhood is a terrorist organization.
But I have no problem with that. And I'm pretty sure Ali and Armin completely agree with me as well. I'm not sure why that was problematic for the Americans, Australians, Canadians, etc., and Germans. Why were they not okay with these people being thrown in jail?
White guilt.
So,
sorry, go ahead.
Like, I mean,
they have no due process. They get out of it. They if I was a Muslim and I did something in Europe, I can get out of it. Easy.
In Europe, yes, you can. But if you're, let's say, if you're an Egyptian and you're in Egypt and you committed a terrorist attack, they're just gonna. I mean, if they throw you in jail, you're lucky, right?
Of course, no. So, anyone who committed anything, he's dead. The guys are thrown in jail for planning to commit. It's minority report level stuff. When it blew up, the plan was 3 churches, and the guys who were gonna try the 3rd church in Cairo, they all got rounded up and killed before they did anything. That's no way the West would accept killing people being to do something.
Okay.
So,
Still a
Omar,
mind
I don't understand
in the West.
I don't understand
No.
when you say our mindset is different, because we agree on you with this. But when we go and say everybody has human rights, you're like, no, you're saying
Okay,
wait, no, let me finish.
I'm gonna quote Minu. Armin. Here is things we disagree with. The Orlando shooter is a victim too. No, fuck him. I'm glad he's dead. That guy is a son of a bitch.
Both are true at the same time.
Both is true at the same time.
No. There is no such this sympathy and no, but guys, they got mind controlled with the religion too, and they can still do. They are actually planning to kill people. I have no problem. And guys, this is a thing I need to claim with Muslims every day. No, let me talk.
You don't even let me finish my question before, and then you're always like, no. You're interrupting. You want me to not interrupt you, even though you never let me finish.
Okay, Armin, finish what you were saying.
I'm saying that we're saying the same thing. You're saying these people deserve to go to jail. Yes, when people are shooting at you and in war, they deserve. You can kill them. That's okay. That's
kill.
We say, yeah, kill. We can kill them. They're shooting at us. Of course, it's self-defense, right? If an army is coming, I'm not going to go to them like, oh, these people, don't shoot at them. They're jihadi, but it's not. They're victims too. You can't blame them. No, they're invading a fucking city. Bomb the shit out of them, right? But at the same time, you could bomb people and also understand that everybody is a product of their circumstances, right? But
that's a free will versus
no. And then you come on Twitter like, oh, Armin, you don't understand jihadis. You know, you call them jihadis. You know where we came from? You know what we call these jihadis? We call them the fucking government. Okay, that's what they ruled over us. I know that these people, what they can do and what they're capable of. You know, when we're talking about human rights, if human rights is about just for good people, then it's not human rights. It's good people rights. Human rights means human rights when you apply it to the worst of all people, and that does not contradict self-defense. That does not contradict people being punished for the crimes that they committed.
Holy shit, that's pretty poetic.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
just looking at Armin pissed off, and then he's just like.
I agree. Sorry if I'm entering the conversation when it's very much heated. But
no, Faisal, you're the only one interested in counterterrorism. Please talk.
Yeah, I mean the fact. I mean, I've talked to jihadis, members of Al Qaeda, etc., or now called ISIS, right? AQI in Iraq, Al Qaeda of Iraq, is that understanding where these people come from is very essential for combating them. And the fact of the matter is, like, many of the people I have talked to and still talk to, because like, I work in that fucking field, but is that they come from good intentions, right? They think everyone you think is evil is actually coming from a good intention and interpretation of his ideology. Like one of the people I interviewed, unfortunately, which was like made me depressed for a week, and he killed his daughter. Okay, so this guy was extremist, but he was not Al Qaeda. But I'll get to the semantics. But he killed his daughter, and I told him like, why did you kill your daughter? And he said he killed her because he wanted her to go to heaven, and he saw that she was, and that was his only child, by the way. Okay, that was his only child, and he killed his daughter because he thought that he wanted to prevent her from going to hell if she would become promiscuous, and out of his love for her, he killed her. That obviously, as someone who thinks that this is completely repugnant, right? Like he fucking killed his daughter, but understanding where this person is coming from and the ideological narrative shows that this person is not, and this person also happens to be a big philanthropist in the area he was living in. So he is not evil. His actions are evil. He himself purely, and I would argue he is actually probably a victim of his own upbringing. He's a victim of the people he surrounds himself with, his parents, his daughters, all of these things. So no, I think that coming from, what would make us, if you look at this war of terrorism, the counter-terrorism world,
you understood me wrong, by the way.
No, just let me finish because I kind of came late to this conversation. I'm really apologize for it, but it's like if you look at this world as a war of ideas, right? As a war of moral superiority, or some sense in this regard, it's only moral superiority, is that we cannot treat jihadis the same way they treat us, right? We should not round them up or kill them, anything like that. Putting them in a courtroom, getting them the right to have a defense lawyer. Obviously, in situations in which they are attacking you immediately, obviously out of pure self-defense, you have to kill them. I mean, this is unfortunately the situation.
Like Osama bin Laden, there was a big controversy about we didn't use due process. Well, that was a situation of war, right? So
yeah, situation of war. You have to do things that unfortunately are ugly, but there are situations in which you don't have to. You have to maintain that moral superiority in which, okay, we are better than them. That's why we do these things, and that's why we are at war with them. If we treat them the same way they treat us, not want to say we are as bad as them. Obviously, America is far more superior to ISIS and whatever they do. Like even now we have fucking Trump, we still are to some extent morally superior to any of the Islamic State or Al Qaeda or all these gangs of terrorists.
Just an IQ drop. That's all.
But it's very important that for us in this war against bad ideas, we still hold our. I mean, there's a quote I think it's by Abraham Lincoln that I really love. He said that sometimes we get so hateful to the way that we forget what we stand for, and we I mean, they say like everything is okay in love and war. So I don't want to give like a long speech, but this is my input on this conversation, and I hope Yasmin doesn't hate me right now.
Yeah.
Can I talk?
Okay. Go ahead.
Now,
I'm sorry, you're the guest, so
no problem. I just wanted to clarify that this is totally not my argument. There is no such thing as evil with a capital E. Actually, there is no such thing as free will. I agree with Sam Harris 100%. This has to do with revenge, me being angry, disgusted, I am morally superior, has nothing to do with anything. This is actually coming from a moral position of protecting innocent people. It has nothing to do with any statement about me better than the jihadi as a human being. If I was put in his exact shoes when he was born, I would be him. I was him. You're talking to someone who was cheering and praying Sajdat Shukr on 9/11, watching Americans die right now. But that's not my argument. My argument is specifically stopping people from killing innocent people by any means necessary. This ending by any means necessary, the West and by the way, who can fight terrorism for some reason better than the West, can actually treat it differently. For example, there is the Douglas books about in the weakness of Europe. This whole thing of justifying the way people join ISIS is, for me, unbearable to listen to. Like people doing articles saying we're this narrative and we're pushing the Muslims towards the bad guys. No, there is no justification to join ISIS. I don't care if you dealt with anti-Muslim bigotry for 20 years from white whatever. There is, once you join ISIS, start about to kill innocent people, I don't care what happened to you.
Explaining is not justifying.
Okay, I will explain it better than you, and I can tell you exactly my mindset when I wanted to kill Jews and Christians. Stand it very well. I can explain it. But here's the thing. I am pro arresting me, 15-year-old's me. Now, can you understand that?
Yeah, I think we should get into that about the mindset
now,
that
I'm pro throwing Majid in prison, of course. This whole idea of, oh, Majid was in prison, poor Majid. No. He was Hizb ut-Tahrir. He should be thrown in jail. I am glad Majid, at his mindset back then, was thrown in Torah prison.
No, but you're saying killed. What if they killed him then? Would we have him today?
No. Okay, first of all, I said killed about ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Ansar Bayt al-Maqdis, Ansar al-Sharia. I can tell you, name you the exact terrorist organization. Whenever I talk about Muslim Brotherhood members I see thrown in jail. There's a difference. And whenever we talk about Muslim Brotherhood supporters, I will be the first one to defend them. Let me be clear. Before Rabaa massacre, I was there. I heard Al-Sisi giving the speech. Give me permission. It's خطاب التفويض, it's called here. Once I heard that speech, I was disgusted, and I ran to the Muslim Brotherhood supporters in Rabaa Square, begging them to leave the square so that they won't get killed. And of course, they beat me up. That's what they did. And I failed to get them out of there. And of course, there was 3 Palestinians from Hamas on top of a building that shot 3 cops. And the second you shoot cops in the middle of the process, in a protest, go berserk on everyone in the protest as revenge for the cop killers, no matter if you're holding a gun or not. This is expected, and I wanted to prevent it. These guys, these idiots, in where are innocent people. They believed the bullshit from the Muslim Brotherhood. They believed Islam is the solution and Islam al hal. I want to defend them. See the difference? I want the Muslim Brotherhood members who organize this whole thing in jail. I want the Hamas who killed the cops to be dead. Can you see the 3 categories I specified right now?
I think we're all on the same page for all of those things.
So what's the disagreement you have with us?
How about if we, is it okay if we move on from this, Armin? Because I think we're all on the same page.
Without them being in jail. Basically.
What was that?
Okay, so
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, the disagreement is you can have organizations that are terrorist organizations who killed in the UK, Canada, Montreal, Melbourne, Australia, because of freedom and human rights. That idea, that association with a terrorist organization is unacceptable.
Oh, we don't agree with... The decision of our governments was probably not the same decision we would have made. Okay, they did it out of ignorance. Because you're right. They do see these people, and it's happened a million times with Islamists, a million times. I mean, even Majid Nawaz, we just talked about him. He's a good example of that himself, right? He went into prison, and then it was Amnesty International that was like, oh, this poor kid, we have to get him out of prison. It's like, well, this poor kid has been trying to kill you people, you know? So, yeah, sometimes we do overdo it. And I don't think any of us jihadis here, secular jihadists, would be on, because we understand Islamic terrorism, we understand jihadis, and we understand Islamists, and we're not going to be fooled by this idea that it's, you know, we have to protect the little brown minorities. Like here in Canada, where we just paid Omar Mateen $10.5 million.
Omar Khadr.
Sorry. Yeah, Omar Mateen is the other one. Oh my
Orlando
God.
guy. We haven't paid him anything.
Omar's and they're all murderers. Except for you, Omar. Yeah, and so I don't agree with that decision, right? Like I said in an earlier podcast, if he had been a member of the KKK and he did the exact same thing, Canadians wouldn't have had bleeding hearts, and we wouldn't have said give him $10.5 million.
Yeah, I think just to add,
we're doing it's the whole bigotry of low expectations thing, I think.
I wanted to exactly. I mean, this is.
I don't want to talk specifically about that.
No,
situation. I don't want to take the podcast off course because I know Omar has a lot to say and he only has 1 hour. But I just
want to get to something that we talked about before that I wanted to bring this up in the air because Omar actually told us a very, very fascinating thing, getting back to the Muslim Brotherhood, about why a lot of secularists and atheists in Egypt voted for them after the Arab Spring. You remember that?
Yeah, but I will try to explain it again. First of all, when Mubarak fell and there were 5 candidates, the repeat of the election was between Shafiq, remnant of Mubarak, and the Muslim. Was an understanding that the Muslim Brotherhood can't actually hold the government because there is an equivalent for what you call a deep state here at Dawla al-Amiqa, which is way more powerful than anything else, that should take care of the Muslim Brotherhood, but if the remnants of Mubarak came in, we wouldn't handle them. And in this process, we will show the true face of the Muslim Brotherhood, because they will return FGM to hospitals, they would and burn churches, and so that the majority of Muslims in the middle, normal Muslims in Egypt, wouldn't take their bullshit of Islam is the solution and see how terrible they are. That was an argument, and it was so because I won't get into it. It's too long of a story, and it's too complicated. I want to get to another part, but this idea of there's a lot of atheists who are from the older generation, the 60s generation, that think we need ISIS, we need Muslim Brotherhood in power, we need this because silent Islam is way more dangerous than jihadi Islam, because silent Islam is causing millions of women to suffer, and they will. But if Islam is revealed as it is, it will be taken down once and for all. The idea of reform they hate because it's sacrificing women. First of all, it's totally sacrificing women. One, you can read them that is non-violent, but that's not their goal. Their goal is to get rid of sexism in their country. That way, we can take totally down the Muslim Brotherhood and hopefully return to the Nasser days. And even funnier for you guys, because you guys probably wouldn't know this. Yasmin, you knew about the Nasser days in the 60s and how secular we were. Women had freedoms. There's no such thing as hijab. Mini skirts. The azan was banned. It was a joke. Praying 5 times a day was a fucking joke. In every Egyptian movie, Abiyad Westwood, which is classic Egyptian movies, the sheikh, the imam, was portrayed as either insane, crazy guy or the calm guy who wanna get money out. Do you guys can believe? You're not gonna believe this. Cairo University, of course, evolution was taught. Everything was taken. Nasser needed to get the best. It was a Cold War era of science can make countries strong, you know. So in Cairo University, there's a paper about bees and how bees do stuff like إمكانيات النحل في the ability of bees to do something. Okay, guess who's the writer of that paper? The writer of that paper is a little British lad called Rich in Arabic in Cairo University by Richard Dawkins in the 60s. That's the level we were in back then. So just watching, and that's actually to anyone who is standing so much for human rights and loving secular Egypt, because let's be honest, Nasser rounded up Muslim Brotherhood and threw them in jail, and in jail there was torture. When the Muslim Brotherhood say, you wouldn't believe what happened in the 60s, and they have an Arabic saying called "As-Sittinat wa ma adraka ma as-Sittinat," which is a joke on a Quranic verse, as like you wouldn't believe what happened in the 60s. They're actually stating the truth, that there was dive in Torah prison. It's insane. Like Nasser was an authoritarian. So when you look at awesome Egypt back then, you will be loving the idea of women liberation, and you will be me. I'm not confused. Like I am actually.
But did there create a backlash though? Did it create a backlash when all of this?
No. It's not. We're not like Iran. That's not what happened. The backlash came because of Naksa, because of that was the backlash. It has nothing to do with an authoritarian regime against the Muslim Brotherhood. If the Muslim Brotherhood stayed in jail, we would continue on the same road. As Sadat, the other president, got them out of jail. It's not the same scenario in Egypt. Trust me, Faisal, I know what you're saying. There was a crazy minority, crazy Islamist minority, just the sheikh and the imam I told you about, the crazy guy at the end of the street telling people your mini skirts, your sinful nature will bring the Jews, it will bring Egypt down, you're going the wrong way. And guess what happened in 67? The Jews came. He was justified, and the next president Sadat got all the Muslim Brotherhood out because he needed jihad army against Israel. That's the reason we shifted back, followed by another reason from Saudi Arabia called the Zahf al-Wahhabi, which is in the 80s. Saudi Arabia, for no, I don't even know who fucking initiated this, just poured millions and millions of dollars into Wahhabi education schools in Cairo, Alexandria, every single place in Egypt. And they did it with nothing in return. This is actually because they want Wahhabism to over the Muslim and Arab world.
Yeah,
they actually
that's what they did in the border of Pakistan and Afghanistan too. The schools, the students of the school, the Taliban means
in my
students.
school in Canada.
Right,
all over Europe too.
The term Taliban actually means students, and it means students. That word actually came because they were from these Saudi Wahhabist-funded schools.
The Talib is student.
Talib is student. The Taliban is plural for student.
Yeah.
So if I now just thinking about this, if I ask you, Yasmin, when you do a presentation, that Nasser clip of Egyptians making fun of the hijab, because of course women don't need to cover themselves, women have rights, god damn it. When you share that video, do you like have a conflict between what that, because that freedom was at the cost of grabbing all Islamists and throwing them in jail?
I have zero conflict with that.
Okay, good. Then you're on the same team. See,
yeah.
I told you, like, you're with my grandfather on this.
Yeah. What's yours? Yeah. I'm with your grandfather for sure. I don't have any conflict with that at all, and I still don't have any conflict with that today either. The guy that in Canada, we recently had a Somalian refugee. He was thrown out of America. America in 2011 said, "We're going to deport you back to Somalia." And then in 2012, he walked across to Canada and he asked for asylum and he got refugee status, and we paid him with our taxpayers' money. We supported him in our country so that he could eventually ram a car into a police officer, throwing him 15 feet in the air, and also hitting pedestrians as they're trying to cross the streets when he was in a big U-Haul truck. And he had an ISIS flag in his trunk. So yes, when I hear stories like that, it's infuriating to me because there was a whole bunch of red flags. The man I was married to, he's an Egyptian. Egypt said, you don't get the passport anymore. We're throwing your passport away. You're not Egyptian anymore. You're not one of us. And so he's in Afghanistan, gets a fake Saudi Arabian passport, enters into Canada, and again gets refugee status, and again gets supported by taxpayers' money. Of course, I'm not going to support any of that shit. I think I mean, of course I believe in human rights, right? But I'm not a bleeding heart liberal. Like, yes, I am a liberal human being, but I'm not an idiot. Do you know what I mean? Like, I understand the danger of these people. Where there's smoke, there's fire. What happened with this guy, the Somalian guy here in Edmonton, in 2015, the RCMP, so our Canadian police, suspected. There was people, actually, they didn't suspect. People went to the RCMP and said, this guy is talking like an extremist. The RCMP investigated him and they said, nah, he's fine. That kind of shit drives me crazy.
There is something very depressing.
No, I agree with you guys. I disagree with your government. I agree with you guys actually more
I
than
have a question after Faisal.
I disagree with your government because you guys are left wing and your government is left wing. I thought that this somehow support for the left wing government includes this shit. Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
Well, that's true.
May I? Yeah. I mean, is that what it seems to me the conversation is going on is that fascism. I mean, Jamal Abdel Nasser and Saddam Hussein and Assad and all of these dictatorships is only like the representation of fascism of the region.
He is authoritarian 100%. But
authoritarian is a compliment. Authoritarian. Calling these guys authoritarian is a compliment of how barbaric they were. So the fact that these people,
Saddam and Nasser, seriously, the moral comparison is Saddam and Nasser.
Well, let me finish. I mean,
very different.
Nasser supported
very different people.
No, supported the revolution in Iraq against that eventually brought up Saddam Hussein. So, but let me say, like, there's something very depressing here is that it seems to me that the only people who would stand against the Islamists and the extremists are fascists. And I think from my, I mean, if that's true, I mean, I'm still, for example, like the only example of a successful secular democracy the Muslim world has ever had is Turkey, right? And how did Turkey became a secular democracy? It's because of Ataturk, who also rounded up people, killed people by the thousands. I mean,
he enforced it. He enforced secularism.
It's not the right answer, Faisal, but it's historically been the only answer.
Exactly.
I mean, the question. I mean, I don't have any definitive answers to this, but I am hoping. I have that maybe there is a more human rights approach,
of course,
solution that is not fascistic. Like we don't need fucking Nasser or Mussolini.
We're not pro-fascism. Sorry, I want to make sure that that's.
I'm not pro-fascism.
What I'm saying is that it's sad that all over the Muslim world that the only example of secularism we've ever had came through fascism. I mean, this is a pure. I mean, except now modern history in which we have Tunisia, which is kind of the symbol of democracy / even though Tunisia also happens to be the biggest exporter of ISIS in North Africa, that's also something needs to be mentioned before we talk about how wonderful Tunisia is.
Out of our
Armin, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, but
I want to first let Omar answer, Faisal, and then I'll ask my question.
First of all, let's not liberating 50 million women and throwing 10,000 people in jail fascism, first of all. Second,
well, fascism. I mean, I assume some parts of fascism were good. You know, Hitler built good trains. Hitler built good trains doesn't mean we have to praise whatever Hitler did.
I'm not a bleeding heart Nasser defender, by the way.
Do you want to call it totalitarianism? You want to call it authoritarianism?
Economic nationalist. He was economic nationalist, and his decision of blocking Khalid al-Aqaba for the war. I don't agree. I don't love everything Nasser did.
He did a lot of horrible things. He did a lot of created all the Jew hate too. But anyway, go on.
Yeah. It's we can get into Nasser a lot, and I know understand the forcing secularism, and he was an atheist. It's known, like the memoirs were leaked 3 years ago, and I knew, of course, because I had them before everyone did. But Nasser converted to atheism in front of Kaaba when he was doing Hajj. He said, "Il habal da, what is this nonsense?" And he wanted to make Egypt great again. So, yeah, seriously, it's in his friend's memoir.
That's so funny. I love it.
Dude, it's hilarious. Like he went to Hajj in Kaaba and he spent like 10 minutes. Friends, let's go back to Cairo. We need to do some important shit to Egypt. Like he left it all behind. Yeah, it's hilarious. So let me answer what is the solution, because only fascists, only extreme right-wingers are fighting this right now. Then left-wingers believing in human rights still, who can fight this if only the left wing would defend its own values and Western civilization. The reason why is because...
What's wrong with Modelo, man? We come from Mexico, we have burritos, this is leftist.
Your argument with food, goddamn.
I'm joking with you, man.
I know.
Do you have one in each hand there, Faisal? Do you have two?
No, I don't. I do have 2 beers, but I'm only holding one right now.
I know you're joking, dude, and whenever it comes up, I continue with it because I know you're joking. But sometimes I'm gonna like say, dude, you know, I don't even like hummus. Like, what are you talking about? I'm not Egyptian, dude.
Yeah. So, thank you very much. Good night.
Omar, can I play devil's advocate with you?
I want to answer how to protect Western civilization.
I've been waiting.
Okay, I will do it quick. But the people you need are Melissa Chin. Are people who are against other religions and culture, who are anti-liberal, taking in the left wing because multiculturalism is awesome. Let's be changed. Diversity is our strength. That's why only the right wing defend civilization, because of fucking identity politics.
What's wrong with Melissa Chen?
No,
I just said Melissa Chen is awesome. That's the most important
by the way,
human being
Omar,
to talk at Melissa Chen.
One of our audience is pointing out that it was the conservative government that approved the refugee claim mentioned. But anyways, it was under the Jason Kenney. So he's saying it's not just the liberals. But anyways,
but I have to clarify. Like,
but you interrupted him.
Conservative in Canada actually means quite left wing compared to what we do in America. I just want to clarify that. Like, conservative Canadian is not the same as conservative American. I want to clarify that.
Very different.
The only thing that saved Canada from Islamism is the Atlantic Ocean.
And the Pacific, yeah.
All right, so
and then frozen tundra, and then America protecting our ass.
Exactly. Without, if you think that if America didn't exist and you were connected to the Middle East, Canada
So we're
is done.
fucked. We'd already be fucked.
Omar, let's say I'm a Muslim, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at bringing Islam and spreading Islam, right? And I'm thinking democracy, elections. I'm trying to defend Muslim Brotherhood, but don't pin this on me as my view, okay? All right, so I'm just trying to see what you would respond to me as a Muslim if I'm saying this, okay? And I'm like, democracy, let's get elected, finally get some power and, spread Islam and, have an Islamic government. And we go spread the word and try to bring everybody to vote and everything. And finally, you get the Muslim Brotherhood voted in, and guess what happens? Another democratically elected Islamic governments history repeats itself for the 100th time in the Middle East. The dictator comes in and removes the democratically elected Islamic chosen by people, and then the West is still sending money to Sisi, and the West supported Reza Shah. The West gave weapons. Let me just finish my question, okay? The West keeps selling weapons to Saddam and stuff, and then they like, oh, democracy for us. But when we use democracy, they just don't like the people that we elect, right? And they still talk about putting pressure on Sisi, but they're still sending him aid and shit. But then they're like, okay, and as a Muslim, I'm like, okay, it seems like we're not gonna get our way with democracy and election. So fuck that. I'm gonna go pick up my gun because democracy works in your Western country, but here, if we want to promote Islam, it seems like the only way to do it is with a gun. So how would you respond to, not to me as Armin, to me as a Muslim?
I respond to the Muslim by first saying you're factually inaccurate and never read a single book if you think the West supported El-Sisi and Saddam. Second.
Wait, Saddam got weapons from United States to attack Iran, so don't tell me that history.
No, they were supporting Morsi.
Saddam when he was in Egypt, they were supporting Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood against El-Sisi, and even after Sisi took, they were still...
misunderstood what I'm saying. It's not what I was...
You're going after Saddam.
I was specifically about Sisi. I didn't say that they're completely supporting him, but they're continuing the... It's
not invading Egypt? Thank you.
No, I said they're continuing... No, you didn't listen. I said they're continuing the aid. The military aid, the financial aid is still coming. They released it.
You want to stop the fucking aid from Camp David Accord now?
No.
Do you understand what you're saying, Armin?
Yes, I understand what I'm saying.
You even read a book about the Middle East.
Shut the fuck up, Omar. They stopped the financial aid for a while.
Okay, explain the Camp David Accords.
Listen to me. They stopped the financial aid to Sisi for a while to put pressure on him for the human rights violation, but then very soon after they released it again. I'm not saying they're completely supporting Sisi.
Or else there would be a war
and the West's policy with Egypt is the West is not one entity. There's so many different groups in the West, right? I'm just saying that also Saddam. Of course, Saddam got weapons. Saddam got weapons from the United States directly to be able to attack Iran. I'm not.
But you're right.
But no, I'm not saying. Okay, here's the thing: is not support, not condemnation. But I mean, come on, the West changed the government in Iran from a democratically elected person to Reza Shah's son, right? So it's not like. And
I know.
Okay, so I know you know, but my point is that forget if you think the West is not directly supporting them, but they're not condemning them sometimes either. But at the same time, me here as a Muslim Brotherhood member saying like, okay, you guys here, even in Egypt, the army is not letting us democratically choose our people. So I'm going to pick up the gun. So why can't you let people choose their own?
Oh, of course. If you're a Muslim Brotherhood member, fuck you, go to jail. You're against the Constitution and you're not protecting minorities and you want to kill people. And
I'm a misguided supporter. I'm an ignorant supporter.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna get you out of Islam. Let's talk about arguments for the existence of Allah. I will never go down the road of. Listen, guys. Okay, this happened last time, and when Ali was saying, like, Ali was making your exact same argument, and it said, but the Muslims keep saying, the West keep saying democracy, 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 and they don't in the Middle East. I don't support democracy in the Middle East, and I'm not saying that as a provocative thing. Actually, by the way, if I say fuck democracy, if there is no constitution that would protect minorities, that's a moral stance. Of majority rule is immoral, and you're immoral if you're supporting it. This is bullshit. The fuck spreading freedom and democracy. I care about saving human innocent lives.
So when we talk about democracy, we talk about liberal democracy.
You just said the liberals should advocate for the values that they stand. You just said that the West should stand for advocate the values that they stand for, and one of those liberal values is democracy. So now you're saying fuck democracy.
No.
I know. Yes, I know. My argument is bullshit.
No, it's not that your argument is bullshit. It's that you're misunderstanding. I think what Ahmad is trying to tell you.
He's saying fuck democracy.
You're right. No, yeah, he is saying fuck democracy, and I agree with him when he's talking about fuck democracy in the Muslim world, because right now they are just a bunch of sheep. They have never had an opportunity. They've never had democracy before. They've never had freedom before. You know that old saying about if a bird that was raised in a cage thinks that flying is a disease? That's what a lot of people in the Muslim world are like right now. Go ahead,
finish what you're saying.
Yeah, they actually disrespect, and they think that if their leader is not an authoritarian, they disrespect him. Okay, they're in a different place than we are right now. We've had democracy for a very long time. Like Omar said, we have a constitution. Well, not we do. We have a Bill of Rights. But do you know what I mean? Like it's been. We're comparing apples and oranges right now.
No, but can I? Sorry, guys. Can I?
Omar, is that what you were trying to say? Did I capture that correctly?
That was the end. I want to repeat. Give us the American Constitution word by word, and I will be pro-democracy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, this majority rule doesn't even apply to America. It's not a pure democracy. It's a republic of representatives. Hillary won, by the way.
I mean, even the forefathers knew that majority was not going to be the smart thing to do.
Can I say something just about this whole? I just want to clear this up. So democracy isn't just one monolith. There's representative democracy. There's plebiscites. There's a whole range of things. There's liberal democracies where you have that constitution. You have all of that. Now, my thing is that when you want a kid to learn how to use money responsibly, you give them an allowance. Initially, they're going to squander it. They're not going to know, but you're not going to be able to free that bird in the cage if you don't let it fly out once in a while. Initially, it's going to bump its head. It's going to do stupid shit. In India, for instance, democracy, when it started, there were immense amounts of corruption. There was a lot of abuse. It's a messy process, but it's something that ultimately endures, and it always has in the history of the world. Comparison to Pakistan, which was created at the same time, also started as a democracy. Military dictators kept coming in, taking out the democracy. It kept on going back. They never let the process go through the mess it was supposed to go through. And now look at Pakistan, look at India, right? So if you want people to have the responsibility, if you want people not to be sheep, you have to initially give it to them, let them fuck up, let them screw it up here and there, and
but
go
you
through
have to
the
give them a constitution at the same time, though. I agree with Omar. You have to have boundaries. You can't just be like, here, have your freedom.
I agree. That goes without saying, because we're talking about liberal democracies. So when
that didn't go without saying when everyone was supporting spreading freedom and democracy without understanding that the Muslim Brotherhood
Omar, you're not gonna. You're not gonna get the process going unless you start it somewhere. When you start it somewhere, even in America, right? You think there wasn't a time when people in Europe and the US didn't know how to handle democracy? You think they didn't screw up? They didn't go through a whole bunch of bumps in the way? That's slavery for 400 years. They had all men were created equal, but everybody owned slaves. Women didn't get the right to vote until the 1920s. I mean, these are things that are. Some of these advances have been extremely recent. The Civil Rights Act didn't come in until 1964. So this is a process that is long. You can't expect people to be able to handle democracy straight out of the cage. They're going to fuck up a little bit, and you have to allow for that. That has to be an allowance. It's like the kid.
No, it doesn't.
Right?
No, it doesn't.
May I do one comment on this before you, Omar? I think you'll probably agree with me. I think I've actually written many articles that I'm supposed to write a book about this, but I don't want to sound like Ali. I don't want to talk about my book, but
I was gonna say it's your turn now.
I wrote about this. I addressed Faisal what you're gonna say. I wrote about this in my book.
I wrote this in my book as well. I don't know what you're gonna say, but
whatever the subject is, even if it's nuclear energy, I've had a whole chapter on this in my book.
The fact that I talk about my book a lot is actually I wrote about that in the book. It's called.
Oh, I love Ali.
It's called meta commentary.
I think there's a middle. I think there's a middle between what Ali is talking about, and I think what Omar is trying to say is that, for example, what happened in the Iraq invasion. Okay, so when the United States invaded Iraq, 2003, then they installed a government led by a guy called Ayad Allawi, who's until today the New York Times called him the savior of Iraqi democracy. And I wish he stayed longer. The concept was, after overthrowing a dictatorship, there has to be a transitional government between a democracy and a dictatorship, in which it sets up civil society institutions, it sets up a constitution that is non-sectarian, non-everything, and then that transitional governments, which sometimes referred to as transitional dictatorship, in which it built up the basis for democracy. Democracy cannot survive if the majority of the people are ignorant. They don't know what democracy is. So the concept was that America builds up a transitional governance that builds up democracy. Democracy, yes, eventually you will get to a vote, but then people need to understand what is the meaning of rights. Many people in Iraq, for example, don't know what rights even mean. They know how to vote. The Ayatollah Sistani can make a fatwa and drive people by the sheep, by the millions, to go vote for a number, right? But they don't know what rights mean. They don't know what civil liberties mean. You need to have in my opinion, you need to have a transitional governance between a dictatorship and a democracy, in which you build up civil society institutions, you build up the concepts of rights, civil liberties, etc. And then maybe in 20 years, or maybe it depends on the country, there are some countries better than others, then you have a democracy. Then you can say, okay, Aboudi, Hassouni,
so you're saying that Arab is too soon. Democracy is too soon for the Arabs to be democratic. They're not ready for democracy.
No, I'm saying is that there has to be some. It's
not just Arabs; it's anybody.
So I mean, even if that they have right now, they should be ruled by dictators for now.
No,
that's not what we're saying.
Is that the thing is
Omar said yes. Omar said yes.
No, I'm not talking about it. Yes. You're not going to use
this process that you're talking about, Faisal, sounds perfect. If we could actually make that.
Just one comment. That I will One comment, Habibi, please. So I'm not saying that Arabs are too soon for democracy, but what I'm saying is that yes, there needs to be we're talking about America, we're talking about Germany. These are very different cultures. Our cultures didn't have a history of democracy. We don't know these are very new concepts to us. Germans, Italians, Spanish, this is where the Enlightenment values were kind of born into, right? We come from a tribal, we cannot say what works for the Europeans works for the Arabs. It's this is, you're ignoring all the dynamics of the culture, all the regional politics, all of these things. You need to have these. You have to have an understanding. You want to reach the same goal, but you have to have an understanding of the culture and the basics, so you can build what works in Spain may not work the same in Iraq. What works in Syria may not work the same in Japan. These are very different cultures, very different histories, very
This
different.
This is true, but I just want to say that it's not just Arabs. Any country, whether it's in South America or whether like Omar or Ali was talking about in Pakistan, or they don't necessarily have to be Arabs. If you've lived under a dictatorship and you've never had democracy, it doesn't matter who you are, what your ethnicity is. There are going to be growing pains before you get to where we are here in the West.
And just to mention that, especially in these countries that are going through these growing pains right now, up to 70% of the population is under the age of 35. And these dictators have been around for 30, 40, 50 years, and they've never really done anything else. So,
Can
you
I
know,
just
they're
say
coming out.
one more thing that popped into my head? It's a very small thing. It's not really, it's just a little tiny statement. I just want to say very quickly that there are people that have escaped from North Korea and then they tried to live in China or in South Korea and they found it too difficult because there was just too much freedom. And it freaked them out, and they actually went back again. That's just a tiny little example I just wanted to give to reinforce my point.
Well, look at women who've been abused and come out of abusive marriages, or children who've been abused and come out of abusive families. You know, when they readjust, it isn't easy initially. I mean, this is obviously something that I guess Yazi you'd probably know about a lot better, but you know, it takes a little while to get reoriented. It's not. I need to remember.
All of us know that as ex-Muslims too. When we had all the security of every single thing in our life dictated for us, and then when we left Islam, it was like, okay, but now what? Everything was. It was very, very scary. Okay, Omar
is face palming.
I need 10 minutes. One.
Let's wrap this up, Omar.
What was that? Your voice cut.
Omar?
Say it again.
Ali, can I talk?
Yeah. Sorry, there was a lot of crosstalk, so I didn't know what was going on.
Okay.
Go on.
One, Faisal, after your awesome transitional government took over and made everything sectarian again, Shia versus Sunnah. Second, the reply to Ali saying there will be a transitional periods where there will be a lot of chaos and people, no, sorry, I am not willing for people to die for that period or whatever. The right, correct answer to do here is to leave everything as is and start a social movement from the bottom up, not from the up down, to change people's mind, to teach them argue with every single Egyptian I meet about atheism, about secularism, about LGBT rights, about every liberal value I hold.
Put critical thinking in schools.
And what?
Put critical thinking in schools. There is no critical thinking going on in the schools.
Return everything that was in schools back in the day.
So what you mean is like a government by the people?
No, what I mean is you still insisting on this idea that yes, it will be shit, you'll have some difficulties and the Muslim Brotherhood might win and they might kill some Christians, but that's fine. No, that's not fine for me. These people need to be stopped, and again, guys, for the millionth time, I am arguing the majority rule idea, which is called democracy, without a constitution that protects minorities is immoral. You just heard it too much in your lives. Spread freedom and democracy. We're democratic without even thinking it through what it would cost of human suffering. I am arguing from the point of morality here against it. Not I am arguing because fuck Arabs and fuck anything. 3, the argument from soft bigotry, flow experience saying Arabs. No, by the way, this whole thing is because I believe that everyone I'm talking to will eventually change their minds, and it's working. Everyone, the miserable, the suffering from the Muslim Brotherhood, and they're changing their minds. Egypt now, like you think the bullshit in Europe can happen in Egypt now, even Muslims. This is how insane the point is. I would ally with Muslims now as a measure of counter-terrorism more than any atheist European or Western I know, because they actually fight terrorism, and what do you think they call these terrorists? الجماعات الإرهابية الإسلامية, Islamic terrorism. by name. That's the thing about, like, if you're gonna say I'm doing soft bigotry of low expectations, by the way, I'm saying the people over here are even better at fighting these ideas, and I've seen a lot from Egyptian Muslims that I can respect, and I've seen a lot of ex-Muslims getting out, and I've seen a lot, but it has to be from the ground up, because every single time you let the freedom of democracy run, you will have foreign powers supporting one group, and that one Islamic group will spread the money to the lower class to buy their votes, and the lower class will be justified to have been their votes live in poverty, and the lower class is dying out of hunger, and the money will come from America, will come from Qatar, and the Muslim Brotherhood will win. The cycle will repeat itself, and authoritarian come in, will say democracy, and. But excuse me, the deaths of Christians and gays in Egypt during this whole process is unwarranted for, and it's better to leave everything as is and start a social movement from the bottom up to tell everyone. And I would love support from the West with me for Western values, Enlightenment values. Thank you.
I just want to ask one question, which I might be damn positive. How big you think this grassroots movement right now in Egypt? Like, how do you think how big it is? Like, is it small? Is it growing? Is it not large? Tell us more about that.
I know about only 3 atheist communities. I will speak for nothing else. That is Cairo, Alexandria, and in Cairo, the number of atheists is beyond huge. I would even go to the 10, the 15%, but every single one is in the closet. There is no such thing as the open atheist movement. Dude, I'm building every day. I still meet people who come to me because I'm out. Listen, I'm an atheist too. I've met a 50-something-year-old infrastructure engineer that came to me after meeting because we were alone at the meeting, and she told me lately, I just knew that the only life I had is this life when I was just about to lose it in a few years. It was devastating. Like, the amount of people who are out is insane. It's not justly acceptable. If they all come out at the same time, it would be solved in a second. But everyone thinks he would be the only one standing in the middle of the street and he will be killed. Everyone thinks that. That's Cairo. Now,
what do you think?
Alexandria.
What do you think of National Come Out Day? Do you think it would be a good idea if, like, I mean, you said that there are a lot of them, but imagine if, like, all of them came out together on the same day and did a march in Egypt by the thousands, the tens of thousands. Would that be a good idea, or do you think it would be that everyone to
according to the position of Al-Azhar on that day? If Al-Azhar is still getting his ass kicked from state security, then yes. If Al-Azhar returns its power over something called Wizard al-Awqaf, it's so complicated to explain, we will all get killed. Is a campaign for all Muslims, to all imams, to all mosques all over Egypt. These guys need to be killed. Go get them and kill them.
By the way, I just want to point out, Omar, whatever we disagree on, I really have to admire the fact that you're doing all this. I love you back. And you're doing this. You're doing this. We're sitting here and we're safe and we're criticizing you. And it's like, we're like, oh, do this, do that. And you're in fucking Egypt and you're, you know, so it's like very arrogant of me to criticize you when you're taking so much of the risk. So I just want to say that I do appreciate, like, you know, I do appreciate what you're doing. Like, any activism that you do is worth 1,000 times anything we do, right? You are on the front lines, and we need.
Speak for yourself, Armin, but yeah.
Well, I mean, 1,000 times.
Thank you, Armin, so much. And by the way, I understand where are you coming from. If the entire planet was just Canada and the West, you're 100% correct. I am off. The Middle East is.
I come from Iran. I know how it is like there. But my point is that we are here strategizing, but you are on the front line, right?
And I'm okay to die, but to be honest, I know I'm gonna get killed for this one day, and actually I have no fear. from the things I'm planning to do for women's rights are probably get killed. But honest, I have no instant fear of this. I have an insane fear of pain. Like, I have no problem if Hamas bullets grabs my head, but I have this insane fear of just getting stabbed in the middle of the street and left there bleeding. That idea, that pain before dying is that keeps me awake at night. The idea of death itself is not actually that fearful to me. Like, that was my life and done, and I'm okay with it to be. And Armin, when we were arguing, I made that as a joke. I understand where you're coming from, and when we were on Atheistic Republic, I told you, oh please Armin, when was the last time you were shot at by AK-47? And 2 weeks ago, and I shared the video with you, I was in a bus with women and children, and 2 people opened fire on us, and I grabbed myself on the floor, and I could have been dead, and that would have been the end. And I am, guys, and can I ask you something? Like, if this happens, can you guys do me a favor? One favor. Get contact to Lawrence Krauss, Richard Dawkins, or whatever. Make a video on YouTube in Arabic explaining human evolution. Homo habilis, Australopithecus afarensis, Homo erectus, Homo sapiens, one by one in detail in Arabic. That's all I want.
Why do we have to wait for you to die for us to do that?
We can do it right now.
Yourself, why the hell did anyone do it?
I don't know. That's such a simple thing.
Listen, it's such a simple thing. I made a tweet about $100 to a translator is way more important than any reform and any money going to this and any money going to this. You know what I get? 100 tweets. Thank you.
And speaking of which, I don't want to talk about what I do, but we have a project that recently got funded from my organization. That its whole job is to translate science and skepticism material into Arabic, and one of it is the theory of evolution.
Thank you
so we're gonna announce this. We're gonna see a press release within the next few weeks. It's called Bayt al-Hikmah, which is a
not أنا أصدق بالعلم. I believe in science.
Yes, with them. Yes.
With them, yeah, I know them. That's
yeah. So we're partnering with I Believe in Science and all of the science people in the Middle East, and we're gonna spread scientific materials across the region. Thank goodness the project got funded. It's gonna happen within the next weeks, actually. So I'm very excited. We have it as a project in our website, ideasbeyondborders.org. We're gonna make that happen. So you don't need to die for it. I'm already gonna do it for you.
No, I'm not gonna die. I'm not like suicidal or anything. I'm just saying if it happens,
don't die, we're gonna do it already for you.
Oh no! Don't worry. I'm not
it's a real risk.
I don't want asylum. I don't want help. I'm not playing. I don't want to die. Also, I want to live. I still didn't know how Game of Thrones would end. I want to know how Game of Thrones would end. I'm not gonna die now. After all this shit, please.
Thank you for coming on. And one of the things is, like, all of our disagreements, whatever we disagree. I mean, the whole idea of all of this stuff is, I just want there to be a space where all of us can speak, right? That all of us can talk about the stuff openly and joke about it.
Can you say that after MissCon?
Huh? Yeah. Of course I can.
After accusations from MissCon.
Of course.
It's done. Like, I swear, guys, when I updated my RSS feed and I read Secular Jihadist, The Dark Side of Atheism, I swear I thought it was about Stalin and the death of millions because of communism. I thought it was about that. And
no. That's why we didn't call it the dark side of atheism. We called it the dark side of the atheist movement. That was a very significant difference.
But I thought it was like the dark side. And then it was June and Greg, how like you guys are fighting among each other. And to me, in the Middle East, who's seeing like truly bad, evil people, I want to scream my lungs out. All of you guys fighting are good people. Please.
We have to remember, Ahmad, I don't know if I tweeted this at you or not, but when in that conversation, we were also talking about some other people that were part of the dark side of the atheist movement that did not include Sargon or June or atheist, or what is Armin. We were also talking about Steve Chives, Dan Errol, and all of these, you know, trolls that are just running around calling everybody a Nazi, and you know, like Seth mentioned, calling the hotel and blah blah blah.
I was attacked by them seriously.
So were we.
Yeah. And listen, they have
By the way, I was the one who was speaking at the conference.
No, wait. No, I want the video of the conference, but I don't have any more. Melissa Chen. Now, I was attacked, and the attacks have been to an immoral point of the level of doxing. Now, we're in the Middle East. Once you talk about doxing, you're talking about killing us. We all have our location hidden for a reason. All do fake accounts for a reason. If you're gonna go down to the level of doxing and killing people and knowing, and the message to the guy I know was specifically, oh, so you're an atheist in Egypt, guess what you're looking to all of those mosques in Egypt. That was a fucking message.
So that's a pretty dark side though, isn't it?
Yes. That's a pretty dark side. That's trust me.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna talk about this,
you gotta say, I mean, you have you do have small cups of piss, and then you have buckets of piss. At the end of it, it's all piss. You've got to get I don't know if that's a good example, but that's the thing. Piss is piss, you know. But
I'm talking about specific people who are doxing, and I'm gonna say a certain thing. Like, I can understand. Listen, if the whole conversation and the whole podcast with this was about Sargon, I agree with him, and let's kick Sargon's ass about his language and everything. My disagreement was June and Greg, number one. I agree with Seth about everything Sargon, and let me please, like, I've been in this shit in the deep down webs of the internet ever since Gamergate, ever since Atheism Plus, ever since everything, and I've seen it. I know that when I say I'm gonna say stuff, like if I told you like Kyrgyzstan will attack the secular jihadists because free Kyrgyzstan, you will have no idea what the hell I'm talking about.
I just found out what Kyrgyzstan is today. Armin told me. I didn't even know this Kyrgyzstan stuff.
I think most of it was directed at Sargon.
I need to spend more time on the internet. This is like I'm losing out on my not updated on all my
ancient history.
No, please. Can I give you advice on criticizing? But believe me, this is coming from well-intentioned. Go ahead, make a video. Ali Rizvi destroys Sargon and make destroys in caps because children and Tucker Carlson fans love this. And
Omar, we can't talk about
and do everything.
We can't talk about.
Can I explain this, please, Armin?
But you can't talk about. We talk about the Middle East a lot of time, but just because we talk about other things doesn't mean we don't care about the Middle East.
Dude, I am giving advice so that you people tear each other apart. You keep saying, Armin, Trump is the best thing. Trump is the best thing that happened to the left. The left is united. The left has never been more divided in my life.
I was playing devil's advocate, you moron. Just kidding.
I'm just guys. Well, brother, need to wrap this up because
I'm gonna give this advice to Ali and anyone who criticizes Sargon, please.
Okay.
Now, do whatever. Like, I will be with you. Don't fall into the people he attacks. The people he attacks are way more immoral on a levels you wouldn't believe, and you don't know the stories because everyone in the atheist community is still getting information from Christy Winters. Then it's all fucking like Armin, when you were talking with your friend on the Atheist Republic stream, you were like in Wikipedia saying Jess Phillips was not raped, and her reply was, "That's a shame." Like,
I know. I said I don't know. I specifically said I don't know. If it seems like I specifically
I don't want to get into it.
So guys, let's not get into the whole culture.
I don't want to get into it either. I don't want to.
I just want to like,
let him finish his sentence, Ali.
Oh, okay.
My sentence is: suddenly you will find yourself a murderer, someone in Antifa who's willing to said before, if innocent people die by any means necessary, that's a woman that he attacked. And if you're gonna go defend Phillips, of course, like, you don't even know the idea that she outward in Parliament laughed at the idea of If we're gonna get research about male suicides, good, males are killing themselves more. I'm not gonna look at my feminist. That's the level of human being you're gonna slip into defending. So Sargon is an asshole, but his enemies are way worse to a point that you don't know about.
Omar,
So
Omar,
please
you can.
don't.
Here's one thing that you're confusing, frankly, is that if I'm talking about if you're criticizing somebody because of stuff that they have said,
You didn't do it. It's a warning.
hold on,
It's a warning.
hold on. If you're criticizing somebody because of dumb things they've said, or bigoted, or racist, or just completely ridiculous things that they've said, that does not mean that you're defending everybody that they hate. Right?
I know.
Okay, so Assad hates ISIS, right? So just because if I attack Assad and I criticize Assad doesn't mean that I'm in any way, saying that, I defend ISIS. Assad hates ISIS. I mean, it's not. Both of these things, like I said, you have smaller glasses of piss, and you have bigger buckets of piss, and it's okay to call them all piss. It's perfectly
Neither
fine.
you or this did it. I am warning other people who don't even know what's going on the deep webs of the Kyrgyzstan mimic magic and none of this. I know it all, and I'm into it. Nobody has time, but I am into this bit or not. 4chan is fighting ISIS, and I.
4chan is fighting ISIS?
Anyway.
Yeah, we called an airstrike in Syria, but
I agree with Yasmin. Anyway.
I think
No, that's
really
not a
off
joke. I actually spent a lot of time translating for this, and they found out the location of the video of ISIS, and an airstrike was called. I'm not kidding. Google it.
Oh
I
my god.
I don't. That's crazy. We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Thank you for mentioning that right at the end.
Yeah.
That would have been much more interesting to speak about.
Guys, anything I tell you about that part of the internet will sound crazy and nonsensical, and it will need like days and days of explaining.
So you support so you like Pakistan, you support Egypt and Kyrgyzstan?
Yeah, free Kyrgyzstan everywhere. We're oppressed.
Wow. Okay.
Now.
So
See, I
maybe
just
we'll have to
said
bring
you
you
don't
back to
understand.
talk about that.
Armin, I thought you were about
just-
Kazakhstan, the Borat thing, the whole Kazakhstan.
No.
What? You got somebody from Kazakhstan?
Okay, the Kazakhstani
Okay,
people hate
the problem
it when
is you guys
mention
are
Borat all the
normies.
time.
You guys are normies. You wouldn't understand because you're normies. Now, is this thing about feminism? Okay, one more thing, and I swear I'm gonna shut up.
We're the secular normies from the.
Can I just say something before you move on to feminism? I just want to make a small point because I think it's important. As secular jihadists, we agreed before our very first podcast that we would not make this about people. We would make this about ideas. The fact of the matter is, we invited Seth to talk about the situation that he was dealing with, and the situation that he was dealing with included individuals. So that's why it ended up on the podcast. But that has never been a part of our plan, and that never will be. Our aim is never to talk about individuals. Our aim is always to talk about ideas.
Unless they're political
Agreed,
or
and
famous.
I'm defending this. I love this. And you can't hate this because of his voice, by the way. Whatever his voice done.
Right.
Now, one more thing, and I will shut up. This, you need to understand that
Promise?
there is a certain segment of third wave feminism.
Man. Go. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Third wave feminism, yes.
Yeah, there's a segment of third wave feminism, and I know it's not all feminists, and I know I'm talking about the more prominent, the more vocal, the part is extremely toxic to women over here, to the point that
And women over
it
here,
drives
too.
them insane and depressed. And it's worse when you are in Egypt and your education has stopped because you're not allowed to continue your education, allowed to leave the house. That's my friend, by the way. I'm talking about someone I know. And you're not even allowed to leave the house. And you will be sold in an arranged marriage to someone who will rape you to the end of your life, and there is nothing you can go out of it. I had conversation rationally justifying her suicide because her logic was, if the rest of my life is all negative, it's better for me morally to end it right now, and I want to find Omar a way to end it without pain. Is these needles will work about extreme depression and suicide it's insane. Okay, so when someone like that, and she thinks she's broken, she thinks there's something wrong with her, because when she looks online, when she looks to the West, when she looks to the third wave feminists, there is, her brain spouts off and she just thinks she's broken. So when I say June got her out of her depression and suicide, that's extremely important. Sorry. Like, he loves her, and she tell me I'm not that in love with June like her, but to her, that's the woman who got her out of depression, and justified to her that she's not alone in thinking that these things are crazy. June was saying everything, she manspreading, and everything else. She wasn't insane, she wasn't broken, she was a normal human being, and she dropped off all the talk about assisted suicide with me. So the idea, when I said, you guys, you're all good guys, actually because of June and Greg, and I understand, of course, Seth, if the argument was about Sargon, only Sargon, I'm done. I have no problem.
I'm sorry. Who is June and June?
June had.
No, Ali,
it doesn't matter though.
It doesn't matter, please, no. All right.
Oh,
We can have a.
I don't even know who that
an episode if you guys want. 4chan, Kyrgyzstan, all of that. One episode on this, okay? If you
wouldn't understand.
We don't even know any of that.
We'll bring an expert.
The argument
bring an archaeologist. Right. What?
But you're right,
YouTubistan. We're gonna call that episode YouTubistan, right?
The only video I ever saw of June's, like I said, and I'm saying again, the only video of hers that I ever saw was one about women in Islam, and I thought it was excellent. And I said that on our podcast with Seth as well.
It was.
So
I was the one who tagged you, by the way, in that video.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So thank you for that. And she did a fantastic job. And I didn't have the tiniest of criticisms. I thought it was fantastic, and I shared it. But I do think that most of the criticisms were towards Sargon. It's unfortunate that the other two got pulled in. But again,
yes, exactly.
Maybe this is a discussion that you should be having with Seth, because this is not what the secular jihadists stand for. We do not criticize individuals. We criticize ideas. And we really didn't want to get pulled into this. And we'd love it if we could get pulled out at this point.
Get out now before that both sides will come. LGWs will come and Kyrgyzstan will come. Don't get into them, please.
We do criticize individuals if they're like a huge deal, though, like Linda Sarsour, Trump, you know.
Yeah, no, I think Yaz's point. I think it's pretty. I think everybody understands what Yaz is saying. Anyway, so we're kind of running out of time. So Omar, thank you very much for joining us. I mean,
thank you guys for the opportunity. Seriously.
Yes.
Yeah, and the insights on the Muslim Brotherhood and the situation in Egypt are just absolutely, like I even told you this last time. That's why I brought it up. I think they're
ask Omar where we can find
everybody here. Everybody here needs to hear. Omar, can you share your Twitter handle and
YouTube channel? He has a YouTube channel now too.
Yeah, my Twitter handle is Omar Isam. Armin put it in the description of the video, or Yasmin. And
Great.
My YouTube channel has an important video with me and Muhammad Khidra from Jordan. We're talking about ex-Muslims in the Middle East, safety versus getting out, which is extremely important. And I still fall on this. And a lot of other videos, but I talk about anything. I want actually to start solving the divisions, extreme division in the West. Like, I won't do it alone, but I will try, because I actually want the left wing to win, as long as identity politics is their main thing. That's my point. And please, Talisa Gabbard 2020. Please, not another Hillary. Talisa Gabbard 2020. We need to defeat.
Yeah, the Hawaii lady.
Oh, is she the
and
soldier?
No one is talking about it.
Awesome.
Why are Egyptians and Syrians and Middle East are in love with this awesome American politician, and not a single American knows about her?
What's her
No,
name?
we all
Why
know
is
her. Okay.
Bernie supporters know her. Bernie supporters know her because she really supported Bernie Sanders. So Bernie supporters know her.
Who is this?
And to the accusations,
I'll share her with you. Her name is Tulsa.
Yeah, she has a lot of foreign policy.
I had her mixed up
She
with
cares
somebody
about
else.
human beings all over the world. She cares about, and the reason I believe she cares, because she put hands with Assad, to put hands with Trump for the sake of saving human lives. No one cares about human lives if everyone cares about bipartisan issues. How can I kick Trump's ass? How? Oh, when Trump does it, he's bending over to Russia.
All right, we need to. We're doing
2 hours now.
We need to move.
We're
to
basically
me.
You have your own YouTube channel.
One more thing. Sorry. The accusations that come to me as a right winger and all the attacks that I see on messages because I was retweeted by Mike Cernovich.
Oh dear.
Oh dear indeed. But
guys,
you promised something and you broke your promise.
Let's not get into this. I don't want to get into Cernovich and all that stuff.
Sorry.
We had a really good topic. We're just gonna stick with I really want people over here to understand about the Muslim Brotherhood, about what's really going on in Egypt, and about the nuances of what people, secularists and atheists think. And Omar, thank you so much, man. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. And sorry if I changed the conversation near the end.
No, but you have a lot of things to say. That's why I'll make sure to link to your YouTube channel. So because I know you have a lot of good, interesting ideas, so people could come and find your YouTube videos. So I'll make sure I'll link to both your Twitter and to your YouTube. Okay.
Omar
and I love you guys so much.
I love the name of your podcast.
I am sick of being thrown in a label of Egyptian, left wing, right wing. Please treat me like an individual. I am an individual.
You're starting a new topic. I can feel it. Anyway, all right. But whoever is watching us live, if you stick around because we're going to have another live stream after this with the four of us. I don't know what the topic is going to be. But
it's going to be terrorism or not terrorism. That is the
I vote.
I like that. Terrorism or not terrorism.
What?
You gotta throw guns in there.
I wrote a whole chapter on it.
Omar. Bye.
I wrote a chapter about it, you guys.
All right.
Talk about it on your
we
podcast.
love you, Omar. We love you.
I love you,
Ali. I love you, Armin, Yasmin. I love you so much for all what you're doing. And thank you so much,
right
guys.
back at you, man.
All right. Love you.
Okay.
All right,
Good night, Habibi.
Good night.
حبيبتي.
مع السلامة.